Things are about to change for Jade Cargill and Jade Cargill fans. In this video, we are going to break down why, if you are a Jade Cargill fan, that you are not going to want to miss this update, because when I saw it, I got really excited. Jade Cargill has been off of television since the November 22nd episode of SmackDown, but she is keeping up her training schedule while away from WWE and inching her way closer to WWE TV. Of course, they did an injury angle on this episode of SmackDown when a mystery attacker ambushed her. Now, there has been a lot of ups and downs with this story, because the original belief was Jade Cargill was going to be out of action for a while, at least 3 months, due to a legitimate injury, and that would lead to her absence from television, thus the injury angle. They've done this before. They'll do it even more going forward. Now, that's where things get complicated, because there was a conflicting report by PW Insider that put into doubt whether or not she was injured or if it was just a pure storyline. Here's the good news. For the last month and a half, Jade Cargill has been training at the Performance Center. Now, when I keep seeing these reports literally every Monday, I always think, okay, well, if she was never injured, why is it taking her a month and a half to apparently get back into ring shape? That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. She was off for 2 months. It takes a month and a half to get back into ring shape now. Usually that means that someone was injured and they're trying to get medically cleared, or at least make it back to a point where they can get medically cleared. So that doesn't line up for me, but I digress. Now, this comes out at a time where WWE is desperately going to need Jade Cargill back, and I'll explain that in a second. But just keep in mind that things are about to change, because I have another update from PW Insider. The reason that things are going to change is once Jade Cargill returns to WWE television, not only do they get an additional boost of star power, but more importantly, they can really start to finalize and wrap up this multi-month storyline with Jade and her mystery attacker. More importantly, Naomi and Bianca Belair, because they've been playing up the fact that it was Naomi who was the mystery attacker on Jade, and we're going to find out whether that's true or not. Now, that leads us back into today's video, because PW Insider, they had a very interesting nugget, and they stated that the belief is that creative plans for her return will be set very soon. Now, the date for her exact WWE TV return is unknown, but we do know that Jade Cargill is trying to get back on television, obviously. Now, keep in mind, on last week's episode of SmackDown, Nick Aldis, the SmackDown GM, he aired a very interesting security footage video, and it was showing Jade being put into an ambulance after the attack. And it was Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez who was lurking around. Now, they shot an angle on Monday Night Raw this week where Bianca and Naomi, they went from SmackDown to Monday Night Raw and confronted Liv and Raquel. Now, this set up a future championship match between them, so we didn't necessarily get an answer. Now, I understand that they are trying to really keep fans off the trails of this storyline and your ups and your downs and your zigs and your zags. But at the end of the day, I think that it's pretty clear cut that it is Naomi who is ultimately the one who attacked Jade. But to WWE's credit, I would at least appreciate, and I do appreciate, the fact that they are trying to make the most out of this storyline. That's what they should do, because they're trying to, well, tell stories. Here's the thing. How long can you, extend this, reach this, stretch this out, if you will? Because we know that Jade Cargill is probably not going to be returning on WWE television by the time that Elimination Chamber rolls around, right? Because we already know Bianca Belair and Naomi are booked in the Women's Elimination Chamber match. Now, this match is obviously going to be determining who will challenge Rhea Ripley, our Women's World Champion, for said championship at WrestleMania 41. Keep in mind, it is not very likely that Naomi is going to win this match. And in fact, I don't think it's very likely that Bianca Belair is going to win this match. So you can't have Jade return before the Elimination Chamber, because, well, that's just weird. And then you would start having two storylines overlap. And why wouldn't Jade try to cost Naomi the championship opportunity in the Elimination Chamber match? And I understand they're inside of a cage, but hey, people have been able to get inside the cage before, or even before the match. So it doesn't make sense for her to return before Elimination Chamber on March 1st. So now we have to wait until after March 1st. at the earliest March 3rd on Raw, or a couple days later, March 7th, for SmackDown, for Jade to even return. So we still have a little bit to go, but WWE is starting to, rile up and get those creative plans in place, which is a good thing. Now, here's a question, and here's a question that I've mentioned before on the channel. Here's a question that I really don't know how they're going to handle. Do you think that it's going to be Naomi versus Jade Cargill in a one-on-one contest at WrestleMania? Or do you save it and do you do Naomi versus Jade Cargill on television and build it up, build it up, build it up? I don't think it's worthy of a SmackDown main event, although it is 3 hours, so I guess you could do whatever you wanted to on that show. That show is god-awful, and June can't come fast enough for that show to go back to 2 hours. Or do you try to save it for a WrestleMania? Do you try to get that match on there? Because there's been so much TV time devoted and dedicated to it. But then again, if you put Naomi versus Jade on SmackDown, or if you put Naomi versus Jade on WrestleMania, and when I say SmackDown, I mean like the go-home episode of SmackDown for WrestleMania, because they always try to build that match up, or build that show up. Do you have... what do you do with Bianca at WrestleMania? Because you need Bianca on your WrestleMania card. She's one of your bigger stars. And her and Jade are super duper over with the fan base. So do you have Naomi and Jade just do a match on a random SmackDown and then blow that off, and then you can get back to Bianca and Jade being tag team champions? Do you have Bianca Belair and Naomi drop the women's tag team titles before Jade comes back? What do you do with Bianca if she's not with Jade at WrestleMania? Do you have her in the corner? Do you have her as the special guest referee? Is she not on the card? What are we doing with Bianca Belair? Because she's got to be on the card somehow, some way. I cannot envision her not being on the card. I just can't. And I also cannot envision Jade Cargill not being on the card. So I don't know how they're going to handle that. Very, very curious about that. Something to definitely keep an eye on regarding that. But we're going to see how everything shakes out. Either way, as someone who creates content, about Jade Cargill, and y'all absolutely love her here on the channel, I cannot wait for Jade Cargill to get back on WWE television so we can continuously talk about her and see where they're going with this storyline and ultimately how they pay off this storyline. That's a big deal in regards to how they're going to be able to do it. But we will see how everything shakes out. Let me know down in the commentary below. How do you think this is going to play out? Who do you think is going to get revealed as the mystery attacker for Jade Cargill? Let me know down in the commentary below. Hit that like button, subscribe button, and I'll see y'all in the next video.